In Ticket to Ride, players are trying to connect cities using their colored trains. In the box, you'll get a bunch of train wagons for each player, colored pawns to keep track of the player's points on the victory track, a summary card to check how many points you get when you complete a connection, some train cards, which is what you need to place your wagons, ticket cards, which will give you points if you complete them, and the longest path card, which gives 10 points at the end of the game to the player with the longest path.
It's a really simple game, fast-paced and very strategic. A good combination of everything a board game needs. We had a good time with this one, and blocking other players when you kind of know where they're heading is a lot of fun. I liked it and I'm giving it an 8 on 10.
Yeah, blocking other players and forcing them to reroute to get to their destination is fun, but not when it happens to you. The production quality is nice. The board is big and the rulebook is only 2 pages long, including examples. It's easy to teach and a great game for beginners and hardcore players alike. I'm giving it 8.5 on 10.
In Robo-Rally, players are bored factory AIs that program and race their worker robots through a deadly obstacle course. It supports from 2 to 8 players and plays in 1 or 2 hours.
So players begin Robo-Rally by laying out the map of the course that they've chosen. Now, courses vary in terms of number of players, length, and difficulty. Then each player chooses the robot character that they're going to play, and they take the miniature, as well as the archive marker, the programming sheet, and 3 life tokens. All of the extra tokens and extra cards, as well as the factory floor guides, are placed beside the map.
Turn order is randomly determined, and the first player places their robot and archive marker in the number 1 space on the map. Once all of the other robots have been placed, every player draws 9 program cards and the game begins.
So I really like Robo-Rally. It is definitely one of my favorite games to play. It's very silly, it's incredibly chaotic, and it will descend into that chaos very quickly in some games. It's got a great theme, it's really interesting and very different. All of the robots have names and backstories. It's just really fun, and it always ends up being a really great evening when we decide to play Robo-Rally. That level of randomness in the game is also really great for beginner players. You can introduce a player to this game and they're not going to be at such an incredible disadvantage if they're playing with more experienced players. Just because of that randomness, it makes it into a level playground, which is really great. Unfortunately, a negative to this game though is the fact that it really does depend on spatial reasoning. So if you're the kind of person who's finds that challenging, moving your robot around and picturing it in your mind, the geometry of it can frustrate some people, and there are really some people who find that enough to turn them off the game entirely.
A Game of Thrones. This is the 2nd edition of this board game that came out relatively late last year. No, it was a couple years ago. Either way, it's been out for a while now, and for anybody who's read the books and or watched the show Game of Thrones, you know just how convoluted a lot of the politics of the Game of Thrones can be. What I love about this game is that it captures that feeling very well. You have a lot of intrigue. You have all of the politics behind the Iron Throne between all of the houses. You have everybody having to be out on their own trying to get the throne, but at the same time you have to band together to prevent attacks by other nasty barbarian type people. And in this case, I do love the strategy aspects of it. It's similar in a lot of ways to things like Diplomacy and Imperial, games like that, where it comes down to land control more than anything. And you've got a set number of troops, you've got so many troops that you can take, and you've got a lot of land that you want to cover. So do you make alliances? Of course you need to make alliances, but then what if you want to win? Of course everybody wants to win, so you have to pull forward. If you're ahead in certain categories, you get various boons throughout the game that help you substantially. And if you want to get those boons, you got to do better. Things of that nature. All of the different ways to win as well. It just makes this game a wonderful strategy game. takes a long time to learn and
So what are you
arguably
waiting
even longer
for?
to play.
Get
But
in
once you have a good
there!
solid gaming group going that can play this with the preferable 5 or 6 people, this is an incredibly deep and wonderful game that will keep you coming back for more and more and more, as the replay value is also absolutely incredible. And that's why A Game of Thrones is my #1 strategic board game.